It's the start of another school year at one of Hong Kong's most prestigious universities. But thousands of students are boycotting classes. Events like this have been taking place in schools all over the city for the past week. The continuation of a 3-month-long pro-democracy movement. To show that their fight is not over, a statue has been erected on campus. A tribute to the 1989 Tiananmen Square goddess of democracy.
This is a statue of the Hong Kong democracy goddess. You can see that there are quite a lot of gear and like umbrellas, masks, and also the helmets. We are fighting for democracy and freedom, as in 1989, what they have done. And so the statue is very symbolic.
Jackie So is 20 years old. He studies political science and recently became a member of a student union.
So this is the union office, and we mainly work here.
Everything in their office highlights the students' affiliation with the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong.
So this is what we write on the banner, Fight for Freedom. And that's our major demands for the whole Hong Kong government and also the Chinese government.
Jackie joined the student union because he believes Beijing's growing influence over Hong Kong threatens universities and their freedom of speech.
We can now do a lot of activities or lectures to discuss different things like the policy of the government or the other social issues or even some political ideology. But if the Communist Party ruled Hong Kong entirely, then I don't think that we have the opportunity or the chance or the right to do so.
The city's campuses are fertile ground for protest movements. That's why the pro-Beijing government wants to impose a more patriotic curriculum. Something that's already in motion throughout the educational system. This history and liberal studies teacher condemns the censorship of textbooks.
So these are the textbooks that we use. This is the liberal studies textbook on Hong Kong and on globalization.
Colin Lai chooses not to use these textbooks in his classes. In this chapter, dedicated to the 1980s in China, there's no mention whatsoever of the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Actually, most of the teachers, they make their own teaching materials. A few of them would use textbooks.
Beijing's control over education could keep increasing. Authorities want to ban liberal studies classes and replace them with Chinese history in order to impose their own version of events.
For example, how do we assess Mao Zedong? During the Great Leap Forward, for example, a lot of people, millions and millions of people die of starvation. But in mainland China, they have an official view on the assessment of Mao Zedong. So they say that he did more good than bad. So they have to stick to that interpretation.
A dozen establishments in the city already provide this patriotic education, where Cantonese lessons, local language, take a backseat to Mandarin. For these parents, this should be the norm.
I like this school because there are more Mandarin classes here, and they teach more things about China.
We should have more knowledge about China, because China is our country, our motherland. It's essential to know more about it.
Supporters of the central government believe many establishments do not have enough oversight and fill students' heads with mistaken ideas.
They are taught to be critical of the political system or the political regime now in place in Beijing. And that is something I don't think is biased. The problem here in Hong Kong is that we, after a century of being a colony, some of us have forgotten who we are. We are Chinese, our own origin.
Authorities in Hong Kong and Beijing believe the protest movement could have been avoided. If only the young demonstrators had been taught to love China from their first day at school.